Hi everyone, I'm Annissa and this is Whale FM's Fireside Chat with Artists. In this show, we talk about everything and anything art and crypto with designers and creators alike in the NFT space, otherwise known as non-fungible tokens. My guest today is Brendan Dawes. Brendan is a UK-based artist exploring the interaction of objects, people, technology, and art using form and code with an eclectic mix of digital and analog materials. Author of 4 books in interaction design, his work is featured in the permanent collection of New York's Museum of Modern Art and has been 3D printed on the International Space Station and is on the advisory board at the Manchester School of Art. He has worked with clients including Airbnb, Google, Twitter, Intel, Cancer Research UK, and more. Brendan is a pioneer of interactive design and has a unique insight into creating designs that make you think about interaction with things and increasingly how we interact with the physical and the digital. Please enjoy. Hi Brendan, thank you so much for coming on. To start us off, I'd love to hear a little bit about your background and how you first got into crypto and then the NFT art space.
Okay, no pressure then. My background is a kind of mixed one, really. I'm not formally trained in the world of art. I didn't go to art college. I left school at 16, many years ago. I was a photographer for a while, and then I got a little record contract in Liverpool during the rave scene in the early 90s. But I never made any money. I put a few records out, got in a few New York club charts and that kind of thing. Played a few clubs. One of the famous ones was Cream in Liverpool, which is like this legendary club in the UK. But never made any money, so I ended up being in a factory, working in a factory for 8 years. And I drilled, for my living, I drilled holes in fiberglass. And then this thing called the web came along. And I was already in, as a hobby, I would program computers and stuff. And I guess the things combined, and I joined this little web agency. This was in 95. And then I took a chance, took a 50% drop in wages from the factory. And then started to get into web design and yeah, I mean I'll cut it short, but basically things just took off from there. Started to do books and speak at conferences and that kind of thing, and all the time doing my generative stuff as well as like working for clients on the website. And started an agency in Manchester, did that for 12 years, had a company of 30 people. A design agency, and then I think in 2012 I decided to go back on my own again, and here we are now. But from the crypto art world, that was something new to me that I started in June of this year, and it's been a bit crazy, to be honest.
Yeah, I can understand how crazy like the NFT art world is. I remember listening to your Nifty Gateway video, and you spoke about how, who was it? Was it David Morris that introduced you into this space? And he was kind of bugging you, just asking you to join in.
That's right. He was on, he would contact me on Twitter, DM me on Twitter, because Known Origin are based in Manchester, where I worked for 12 years. And David, would send me these messages about this crypto thing, and I was like, I'm not too sure. I don't really understand it. And then eventually, I thought, I saw people selling work, and it's, some of it looked quite interesting. So I thought, maybe it's time to give this a go. And so I chatted with David, and I had this piece that I'd already submitted to the Lumin Art Prize as an entry. And so I thought maybe that's a good piece for my, David would say, what's your Genesis piece? And I said, what do you mean? What's Genesis? I had no idea what he was talking about. So he said, the first piece. Oh, right. Okay. So that's what I did. And someone called Whale Shark bought it. Yeah. So, and at the time, I didn't know who Whale Shark was, and David said, "Oh, Whale Shark, is one of the big collectors." And I was like, "Oh, wow, okay." So, and then I was kind of hooked.
Wow. And so it's very interesting how, the whole process flows. It's like you knew about this space, but then it was that final push, it's just, you know what, let me just start with this. And you just start learning all these terms like Genesis and things like that.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, so basically, listening to your history with art and things, I remember reading one of your articles, and it's very fascinating to me. An artist without like all the like a quote unquote like a background in art, like having like an art degree or things like that. You basically kind of build yourself from the ground up, like from just what you
Mhm.
know. And so I kind of wanted to understand, like, for example, like how did working in like an electronics factory kind of help you, like before the web, like how did that connect you with working to a web design agency, and how did that like manifest or like evolve your work, I guess?
Well, I guess I've always been interested in making things, and with computers. My first computer was back in 1981. I got a Sinclair ZX81, which was 1K of RAM, which was obviously ridiculous. And you plugged it into your television. There was no monitor, there was no mouse, and obviously, I'm sure some people would have had one of these, and you plugged it into your TV, and there was just a cursor blinking at you. And I kind of loved that, because it was almost saying, "What are you looking at?" You had to like type things in to make it do stuff. So it forced you to learn how to code, and for me, it kind of spoke to me. I was able to type things into this black box, and things would happen, and I just thought that was kind of magical. It was an amazing creative process so I can think of anything and just make this box do it, within the constraints of the technology back then. So I've always been interested in that idea of creativity, creating something from nothing. The factory side, was down to, I was getting married, and I had to, I needed some money, because I didn't do well at school, particularly because school didn't really interest me, apart from maybe English, and I love mathematics now, but at the time, they didn't teach mathematics in the way I thought they should have taught it. We just learned logarithm tables. I still don't know what they're for, by the way. So, if they could teach maths, how the beauty of mathematics is incredible and blows my mind. So I was in a generation that fell between the cracks, really, because we had one computer in the entire school, and
That's insane.
and you had to be an A streamer to given permission to use it, and I wasn't in the A stream; I was in the B stream. So I just thought, well, I'm just going to teach myself. So the factory was just a stopgap to earn money so I could get married, and and I'm still married to my beautiful wife now, all these years on. So that worked out, but it was mind-numbingly boring work. But what that does is it focuses you. Well, some people, not everyone, but it focused me to go, I'm going to get out of here because this is horrible, and that's what I did.
Wow, that's fascinating. And speaking to the idea of math, I feel like a lot of people when they see math, they're just like, no, oh, I don't want to do that. But if you were to teach math, how would you teach it differently? Because you said that, with school, it's like they kind of just teach the algorithms, and they don't really teach anything like, else. Like, how would you kind of change that system?
Well, I'm sure they're probably doing it now, because when I was at school, it was obviously very, very different, but a long time ago. But and I'm sure the stuff that I see my niece learning is way more interesting. So I think the beauty of mathematics in nature, particularly. I've done stuff in the past where it used the mathematics of a sunflower head. And if you were shown those things at school to go, look, mathematics is all around us. Everything is number. Everything is made of numbers. And if you come at it from that point of view, it makes it way more interesting of how mathematics and numbers is embedded in everything we do. I do a lot of data viz stuff, data visualization, which is based on numbers. So that's another way. If you can show, look, mathematics can be beautiful, literally beautiful visually, I think that's another way to get people interested in the beauty of maths.
I think that's wonderful that, in the beginning you weren't that interested in it, but then you kind of found your own path and you made it creative yourself, which kind of brings me to like the books that you've kind of written. And especially your most recent one, actually, I think was called Analog in, Digital Out.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was searching on Google, the description for the book was that creativity is innate, but it's most often, or so we believe, driven out of people over time because of life, which is ironic, of course. But you kind of encourage designers and artists to look beyond their normal tools and see things in a different angle. So, I would kind of love to know, like, what was that? Was that kind of the push to kind of say, okay, people might not like have that creativity or find that creativity in school and things like that. So like, how do I manage to see things in a different angle? Like what was the inspiration of the message to like start your journey on being a writer or / teacher on top of that being an artist?
Well, yeah, that book was, I think it was the second book I'd done, and it was very much about how I see the world. And, it came out in 2006, I think. So it's getting on a bit now. But it was about just, I think when you look at the world at a slightly different angle, or, you perceive it slightly differently to what the norm is. There's a great quote from the Russian formalists who are, writers, literary people. They wrote amazing books, but art is about making the familiar strange again. And I think that is the kind of thing that I aspire to be, is making things strange, making the familiar strange. So that book was all about how I might, or other people might possibly do that, and show, everything. In that book I talk about, and oftentimes they're very mundane things, right, that pass us by. So in that book there's a section on how there's a local bookshop near me, an independent bookshop, and when you buy a book, they wrap the book in brown paper and string, and you go, wow. They don't put it in a plastic carrier bag. They don't, and he has this little machine on the wall that dispenses the paper and the string that he's just made himself, and you think, well, it's just a book, right? But that adds a layer of experience to it, and so when you get it home, it becomes even more special. It's like a gift, and it's just brown paper and string. So there's lots of examples in that book of those kind of things. I think I talk about cheese and all kinds of weird and wonderful things, but it's just about, trying to take a moment to look at the world, step back for a moment and go, wow, that thing that I've been looking at every day forever, it's actually beautiful, or, whatever it is, whether it's a paper clip or whatever. So that's what I'm trying to do every day, trying to improve every day, and trying to encourage other people to do.
That's amazing. But how do you kind of step away from that and kind of, see things in a different or third person perspective, I guess? It's like kind of like going to the world, but seeing things as like kind of like an alien, like seeing things for the first time. How do you kind of isolate yourself from being, focusing on what you see right now and kind of just go, okay, this is a chair, this is a piece of paper? How do you kind of isolate yourself and see things in a different perspective?
I try and cut out the noise. I,
Mhm.
my tip would be turn off all your notifications, apart from, the whale community on Discord, have those on.
Right.
But, I have all my notifications turned off on my phone. So, you cut down the noise to try and increase the signal. That would be my tip. I like silence. I like, I love music and stuff, but I also like silence and being in the moment. So those are kind of key for me. One of my favorite activities is just going to the park and sitting with my wife on a park bench, and that's it, and just watching the world go by. No phones. And this isn't denigrating digital technology. I absolutely love it. But there's a time and a place for it. And, a park bench is what a park bench does, right, is it's an object that gives you, it's a democratic object. It says, just sit down. It doesn't judge you. Anyone can sit there, so I love objects like that. It's like, I always say about a teapot versus a teacup. So if you make a cup of tea, you can make it in a cup. But if you make tea in a teapot, you stick around longer. And it says to you, a teapot says as an object, let's take a moment here and just take our time. So these are objects, physical objects that, send things out into the space that give you permission to do certain things. So I love, those kind of things.
That's amazing. I never thought about that. And, even the thought of, yeah, you're right. Like it makes you appreciate it more, having it brew in a teapot instead of just a cup, because that's how people live now, unfortunately. It's like this rushing lifestyle. And especially with people living in like big metropolitan cities like New York and things like that, you don't have time. And so it's important to block that out.
Yeah.
And it's
absolutely.
beautiful, sitting at a park bench. That's amazing. How do you kind of, transcribe that feeling or that that like serene feeling, I guess? Like, how do you kind of translate that into your work? Because I know that a lot of your pieces are like through AI and algorithms. So how do you kind of put that feeling into like fluid emotions or mathematics?
Well, it's a difficult one. I always ask when I get client commissions or whatever. I always ask them the question, why are you even speaking to me? Why have you come to me? Because I want to know why they've chosen me, and they always say things like, "Well, your work is kind of human. There's something in your work that." And then they go, but we can't describe what it is. It's like, so it's so, and for me as someone who makes this work, it's the same. It's just kind of in the work. I don't have, I don't have a special keyboard shortcut to go, right, make work human. It doesn't. This is just how I make the work and how because I think we're obviously, aren't we? As we grow up, we absorb all these things in the world that make us us. And whether that's inspiration is kind of this. Inspiration is meant to be a bit fuzzy in your brain. You're not supposed to memorize it completely, perfectly sharp. Otherwise, that's just copying. But inspiration is where things go fuzzy, and then it all adds to the other stuff that's in your head, and that makes you. So when I make the work, that's what pours out of me, is every film I've ever watched, every piece of music I've ever listened to, every interaction I've ever had with a human being, a nice human being, all these things are all part of the DNA of what makes an artist. So you can't, it's hard to pick apart, one particular thing that says, this is, a thing, or this is how I do it. and I'm still learning and still growing and still trying to improve every day. But I think I'm just curious. I love making new things, and I love, I like to do things I don't know how to do. I'm not really interested in doing the same things all the time. So I guess it's all those things combined is what manifests in the work.
That's very interesting. So it's more of like an extension of you. This piece is basically just all your experiences, all your interactions, all the stimulus that goes through your brain every day. And
Yeah.
it's fascinating because I feel like, like when people create art, or for me at least, like I kind of say, okay, do I just let my hand go free draw, like just go draw whatever I want, or what do I do? And so with your shapes and things like that, it's it's very irregular, I have to say, even the textures. So how do you decide that? Do you kind of just close your eyes and just do what you want, or and do what you feel, or just let it free flow?
No, I think it's, I have my idea of what I find beautiful. It comes down to, beauty a lot of the time for me. So it's, aesthetically and compositionally, I have an idea of what I think is beautiful that might be different to another person, and that's absolutely fine. But this is what I think is beautiful or works as a composition. So, and that is what craft is about, right? So, you just creating something and you put something on the screen, you've then got to work out how to craft it to make it the best it can possibly be. I mean, you're never happy with anything anyway. I'm not. I always see the flaws in it. I describe it as you've got this thing in your head, and let's say it's a circle, and the circle is absolutely perfect in your head. But when you then create this thing, you realize it's not quite the perfect circle that's in your head. And the difference between the perfect circle and the thing you make, that is a gap, the gap. And what you're trying to do as an artist or a creative person, you're trying to, over years and years and years, you're trying to reduce that gap between those two things. And that's what I'm trying to do every day, is trying to reduce that gap.
How close do you think you are, or where are you right now in reducing that gap?
Oh, I'm miles away. I mean, it's it's, I'm trying to improve and stuff, but I think even Stanley Kubrick would go, yeah, 2001 didn't really like it. It's like, I'm sure he would see flaws in it or whatever it is. I'm sure Christopher Nolan isn't, happy with some stuff or whatever. So, I think you have to be that way. Otherwise, you just go, yeah, I am awesome. Which, I mean, I think the exact opposite. So if you just think you're awesome all the time, you just think, well, there's nothing new to learn, and you might as well, you can't get complacent about this stuff. So yeah, that gap is, I like to think it's reducing a little bit, but when you see amazing work out there and you go, wow, how did they do that? Yeah.
Yeah. And speaking on one of these amazing pieces, I think it was one of your first pieces that was displayed in, I think it was that was displayed in MoMA. I think that was the one that they said, hey, let's display your work full time. And it was the Cinema Rodex, I think.
Redux, yeah.
Redux, yeah. And that piece just stunned me. Could you give us some description about that piece?
Yeah, I guess there's an interesting story as well with that one. That so this came out of me just playing. I wasn't. No one asked me to make this piece, so I was just playing around with some code. And at the time I was taking in DVD footage and thinking, how could I take DVD footage, frames of a movie, and display them in interesting ways? And I did various things, and so then what I did, do you want me to share my screen and then show it, or is that going to complicate things? I can show you. Then it gives you some visuals. Here we go, going live. So can you see that? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So everyone, please click on Brendan's screen.
Oh, can they do that? Can they see me and
Yeah,
stuff?
you
Oh,
see
see the screen. Yeah. So after playing around with this thing, I came up with this, and here's the thing, right? It's really simple, really simple. So this is I came up with this idea of displaying tiny frames of a movie, and each row represents 60 frames. So it's sampled every second. So each row is 1 minute of a film. And what I ended up with, well, the first one I did was Alfred Hitchcock's Vertigo, and that's what you see here. That was, I put that out on the internet, and and over the years it got a bit of attention, and then in 2007 I got an email, and it was from the Museum of Modern Art, and they were putting this exhibition together called Design and the Elastic Mind, and they said, we've seen your Cinema Redux piece, and we'd love to put it in this exhibition. And I was, like I said, I've got no art qualifications, didn't even go to art college, so this was like, I thought, is this some kind of joke or whatever?
Like a prank call.
Sorry?
Like a prank call.
Yeah, or something like that, So I remember staring at that email, and I just, I just couldn't believe it. So, and I think originally they were going to do like A2 prints of it, or A1 prints. And in the end, they did it 30 feet high it was like the whole wall. And we went out to New York to the opening party. I think there was 3,000 people there. Couldn't even get near the work. So yeah, it was a bit crazy. And then it was then in the permanent collection and that kind of thing. So yeah, it was. And that, now the thing is, now I'm going to tell you this. I don't normally say this, but that piece probably took about an hour to code.
Oh my God! No way.
Yeah,
that's impossible.
But I see this a lot, right? People seem to think that the more complex something is, the better it is, and that it's total rubbish. It's not about how complex this thing is to make the work. It's about the idea and the composition and the end result. Now, that piece, I mean, probably less than an hour, to be honest. And anyone who knows code can work out how it's done. It's not voodoo. But no one had really done anything like that, in that way before. The fact that it was a simple piece of code is immaterial. So it's, and I see this a lot where people are talking about the complexity of how it was made, and I honestly don't think that's got anything to do with anything. It's about the end result.
Yeah, and I think I was hearing about some, I was listening to some other interviews with artists, and it was like, and they said the same thing. It was like, it's always the end result. People who use models in their art, it's quicker. Yeah, I didn't do like all the work myself. I use a model, but it's an end result. I'm a director, basically. You're basically a director, essentially.
Well, yeah, I'm probably a frustrated film director, really.
And so I really wanted to ask, why the movie Vertigo by Alfred Hitchcock?
Well, for students of Hitchcock, they will know that in Vertigo, there's two distinct color palettes within the film, which represent the two different sides of the main character. So there's like a red section, and then there's it goes to like this green section, and they represent the narrative and what the main character is going through. So I thought it would be a good one to do. And then I did, I've done several movies that aren't based on, that don't have different color palettes, but 2001 looks amazing, various sequences in that. I've done Kill Bill, which looks, again, the colors in that is just incredible. So I've like done 2 Kill Bill things, I guess. So yeah, it's and also I do the movies I like. I'm never going to do Mamma Mia, let me tell you now. So it's
Darn it!
Yeah.
Darn it! I was hoping for that.
Yeah, you're going to be a long wait for that one.
We'll get it. We'll get you to do it one day. It'll happen. Whale Shark, make it happen. Yeah, but I mean, this piece is amazing, and I absolutely love it. I would love to just see it in person as well one day, because it's just fascinating. And it's funny, that in the beginning, people couldn't even get close to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing with it. It's you can experience it in different layers. So, and when it was in another MoMA thing called Action Design Over Time, and I would watch people when I went to that event. I would, like a nerd, I would watch how people reacted to it. And what was interesting was, they saw it from a distance and it was one thing, and they didn't really see that it was a film, right? And then when they get close to it, they go, oh my God, it's a film. So, you experience these things. I like this idea of experiencing things in different layers, because it makes it richer. So that's one thing you don't really get when you see it on screen like this. You don't really get that. But when it's in a big gallery, then it's it's something else entirely.
Galleries just to see their reaction.
I think Whale Shark is asking about Recursion and
yes, Recursion and Typographic Data City. What the inspiration for the pieces are?
The inspiration for those, the Recursion piece. Again, you know what? It's really about. I like this idea of simple building blocks. Let's not forget, right? And this totally blows my mind. DNA is based on 4 building blocks. That's it, and yet it can make, the complexity of all human life, right? And it's based on 4 things, which blows my mind. So I like this idea of simplicity that can then go on to create more complex things. So with the Recursion, that the idea was it was actually just some basic building blocks, but then if you have a recursive technique, so in that case, it took these building blocks and it on each iteration through each frame, it rotated these blocks, and it did it again and again and again, and it would build and build and build and build and build to create, a form. And so, and I love that. And so I did a few different pieces, and there's actually one motion piece. But yeah, so there's that again based on the idea of simplicity, creating something more complex. The typographic Data City one, I've played around with that. You know what? Let me show you, because there was something I did years ago that was like a very early form of it. I don't know if it's on here somewhere, but the idea of taking population density data, so you can get on the internet. The internet is this amazing, wonderful resource. Yes. You can get, the density of a city, and you can get that number. And we're talking about numbers. So here we go. So this was from when was this? 2016. So this is 4 years ago when I was playing around with this idea. So I got the population density of Beijing or Houston, and I made these typographic impressions of these things, London. So you can see that some cities are more complex, but you can see how I was just playing around with it at this point. This is like really super basic 3D stuff. I like to think I've come on a little bit now. So, so I always had this idea, but I wanted to make it, this idea of craft and trying to make it better and improve. So I had this idea out there in 2016, and then I guess I can bring it up on Maker's Place because it's not on my website at the minute. So I can bring this thing up. So what actually happened was it eventually transformed into this. So can you see that okay?
Yes.
Yeah. So this is Tokyo. And every single point on this is driven by data. So I've got the population density data, and I create typography from it because my background is also graphic design, so I'm interested in graphic design and typography. This is Paris. So the denser the city, the less you can see it. New York, you can see, is not actually as dense as Tokyo. Is 16 million people live in Tokyo or something. You can see the genesis of that idea was 4 years ago, but I didn't feel it was good enough, and it's taken me 4 years really to then revisit it and go, okay, now I like it. So yeah. And I like the fact that here's the thing, right? When you design with code and stuff, this looks like a dragon. That wasn't in my head.
It does.
But it's just a side effect of the process. Oh, and the colors are from a New York street, not a New York, a Tokyo street scene. So they're very neon. So I chose like a neon scene in Tokyo. So all these things, again, talk about layers. I can tell you why something exists at that pixel. It's really important that I'm not just throwing stuff at the screen just for the sake of it. Has a reason to be there.
Would you ever create a piece with a layer where it would change depending on the population of the city? So if you look back 5 years from now, it would change.
Yeah, I think I've scheduled to have I'm going to do a drop on async art, which obviously you can change layers and stuff. So, and I've got a few ideas for that, but I think that would be a particularly cool one to do, that would be constantly changed. Yeah. So my async, I haven't made anything for it yet because, I'm not in any hurry. But that is on the cards, I'm in async and just, I need to create something for it.
Yeah, I think we're excited. And Willashar just said, congratulations.
Oh, well, thank you. Well, hopefully you can drop in when I make that thing. Who knows what it'll be, but it will definitely be a layered reactive piece somehow, yeah.
Amazing. And Willashar also has another question. And it's a simple but deeper question. Who is a human figure in Recursion and the system?
Well, I'm not gonna say. It could be me. It could be you. It could be. Is that the person that made that thing that they're looking at? Is that someone who's chanced on it? In a Christopher Nolan way, I'm not going to say who it is.
You're not giving us spoilers. It's like a cliffhanger.
Yeah, it's a cliffhanger, but I think it's someone that might feature every now and again on some of the work for sure.
That's interesting. That's very interesting. I'm dying to know. I think we all are. We're all just like, who's this guy?
Well, I like a bit of mystery, around some of the stuff that I do for sure.
That is true. You need that spoiler. You need that.
Yeah,
you need that
absolutely.
cliffhanger. It's important.
So, moving on to some of your, earlier work on what you were, or going onto the internet. In an interview that you did with Image Source in around, I think, 2016, you did a project with male chimp called Six Monkeys.
Yeah.
And that wowed the internet. And when I saw it, especially the first, can I even call it the first monkey?
You can.
It was this like, it printed out this receipt, but it was this
like it had dialogue and it was like a monologue, and I saw it and I was like, my God, what is this? And then I clicked on the name. I was intrigued and I just wanted to know more. Is this a story? What is going on? Is Frida, who is Frida, you know? And so I would love to know more about that.
You know what? I've just clicked on it, but for some reason it's not showing the project. But, well, so what that was, and again, you know, I want to encourage people as well I approached MailChimp. They didn't come to me on this one. Because I speak at design conferences and stuff, I got to know someone at the time that worked at MailChimp. And they had commissioned a friend of mine, another artist, to just go away and make stuff. That was the brief. We're just going to pay you to make stuff. And, you know, MailChimp are a newsletter company. Why are they commissioning artists? You know, it was crazy. So I thought, well, I'm going to approach them. So I said, look, I make occasional electronic objects and stuff. And so why don't I create some objects that redefine how we look at email, redefine our relationship with email in physical objects. So I made these things called 6 monkeys. They were called 6 monkeys because MailChimp, even though chimpanzees aren't monkeys, but you know, let's just go with it. So, and then I named each one after a famous linguistic chimpanzee. So, you know, I think it's always important to name things so you can, you know, if you give things a name, then you can talk about it. So I did these things over, I think it took me about 6 months. I've actually just updated my site and it's causing me problems. I don't know why I can't show you that project.
I just linked it on Stream Text and I'm actually sharing it right now.
Okay, brilliant. Oh, that's good. Yeah, there you go. There's the link there. So I need to fix my website. But yeah, so I did this thing, and you know, they were kind of weird. They were definitely weird little things. And it just kind of went crazy on the internet. So many people picked up on it. It won. It didn't win, but it was nominated in the Fast Company Awards that year alongside Apple and Frog Design and all these amazing, you know, IDEO, all these amazing people. You know, I'm just one person in the northwest of England, and so that was crazy. It just got so much press. The one that people really loved was the idea of a light switch for email. Because I said, you know, why can't we come home and turn our email off like a light switch? So I made this light switch that did that. And people were like, wow, why has no one made that? So yeah, it was, you know, a really interesting project. It was great for me. I got a lot of press out of it, you know, and did a few other electronic things. And, you know, lots of people saying, oh, could you do a Kickstarter with any of these? And I was like, yeah, I've done Kickstarter before and nearly killed me and that kind of thing. So I was like, no. Making hardware is really hard. And then you've got to support it. You know, it's why I kind of love the crypto art scene, is because I can make this thing and then it exists, and then I don't have to have a whole support system, you know, looking after it. So that kind of appeals to me as well. So, but yeah, it was just one of those other things I did.
I know that this may be just like, I don't know how simple or how deep this question is, but what is the meaning behind all these, you know, or what was the thought process behind creating these? I understand the light switch and, you know, how people kind of process email, but how did you find, I guess, kind of, you know, which electronics to use and how do I display it? What music to use and what feeling am I trying to convey?
Well, the main reason was because, you know, I think email is actually a wonderful thing, and yet everyone just hates it. You know, I wouldn't have a career without email. It's as simple as that. And, you know, probably now Twitter and Instagram and all that, but, you know, email has been this way for me for opportunities to land at my door. that's what email did, right? So, but all we ever hear about is email, evil, evil, evil. So I wanted to change our relationship. Again, it was like just making people stop and go, this thing email, it can actually be useful. So, and to do that in a physical form was to try and get people's attention. As for the design of each object, again, it was just looking at, I think there's one that uses muscle wire, so you can set it to be notified when someone emails you. It's completely ridiculous, right? It's totally ridiculous. But it's like a mechanical thing where the piece of paper comes up towards you. And the beauty of it is it's completely silent because it has no cogs. It's just muscle wire. So I'm interested in those things, what's it like when a machine is completely silent and just, does something, and interacts with you, those kind of things, that kind of stuff. So just looking at our interaction of objects from a human being's point of view, I think oftentimes these things are made like we're robots, and we're not robots. And, it seems like we're constantly being told to be more efficient all the time. And yet we're not efficient. We've got all these quirks that make us not efficient. And sometimes in work and stuff, you want to be organized, absolutely. But, love and things like that are completely illogical. They can't be explained to a machine. So from my point of view, so that's the kind of things I tap into.
Do you think people are becoming more mechanic?
Say again, sorry?
Do you think people are becoming more mechanic?
I think sometimes I wonder if we're losing our, what it is that makes us human, particularly in the form of, empathy and those kind of things, as we've seen of late. So those kind of things worry me. I think deep down people are good. So, I think we just need to take a moment and stop trying to, rush around all the time. And, but such is the way of the digital world, is the way, that's the way it is, TikTok, hugely successful, but, it's no one reads, it's a new video every second, it's crazy, but, that is how it is. That's not a criticism of that. And I'm not trying to say, let's go back to how it used to be, because I want to celebrate digital things. I don't just want to be, some old guy moaning about how it used to be great in the old days. I was there in the old days. Most of it was rubbish. So, so I like now.
I love that answer. And we have some questions from the audience. So Lounge asked, have you made a piece that changed by the amount of transactions done, so it becomes more complex as it moves hands?
No, but that's a great idea. I think with the async piece, one of the things I'm looking at is, and people have done this before, there's some great examples of Ethereum prices, but yeah, transactions, if I could get that kind of data, and which obviously is out there, absolutely, I think that would be a really killer thing to do. I like the idea of, a piece of art changing, and I love the idea of, a lot of the time I'm making a system and I don't know exactly how it's going to look. I put parameters in place, but then the system plays within those parameters, and I want it to surprise me. And I think with things like async and other platforms, I think that's where the interesting stuff will happen.
Amazing. And we're all waiting for your drop. No pressure. And we have another question from Heather. What has been the most challenging yet rewarding piece or commission, and why?
The most challenging, it's probably, I did one for Airbnb at the Sundance Film Festival. So I did this piece where, this is the one here, let's hope this one will work. So I did this piece and it was 12 thermal printers, like a receipt printer. And I'd done this thing years ago called the Happiness Machine, where it would print out random happy thoughts from strangers on the internet. And I had quite a bit of success with that. It was in various galleries. And then a few years later, Airbnb approached me and said, we've got this thing at the Sundance Film Festival, and it's all about neighborhood and community. And we love your happiness machine. Could we do something similar? So I created 12 of them, and it was on for a week at Sundance in Park City in Utah. And I created a SMS system, so people would SMS in a story about someone they knew in their neighborhood or whatever it was. That was the kind of brief, but you had to be in that room to do it. It wasn't on the internet. And so you went into this room, and people would text message into the system that I built. I'd never done text message anything before, so I learned how to do that. I had to 3D print 12 printers. Designed all the case myself, 3D printed them at home, and then they were shipped out to Airbnb at Sundance. I went out there. This is the building. There was a huge queue to get in. And now, as a cynical English person, I thought, is anyone going to, if I send a text, if it's 3 words, that's long. So I thought, is anyone going to bother writing anything worthwhile? Surely it's just going to be short, kind of stupid messages. I was blown away by what people shared, and it taught me never to prejudge your audience with any kind of, cynicism that you have. We had, in a week, we had 5,000 stories shared, and you can see that this was the jungle of all the stories that were shared throughout the week. It was amazing. And so it was the most challenging because there was a back end system I wrote, there was a 3D print, there was the industrial design, there was the making sure it actually works without any hiccups for a week. And thankfully it did it all. There's my MakerBot printing it, but yeah, that's on my dining table. So it's all smoke and mirrors. So I don't have a big studio here. It's I work from home, and these are all I did all the electronics as well, so soldered all those together. So it was a lot of fun, but I think that's probably the most challenging one.
I'd imagine, and it's Heather just said that's really meta. I had to 3D print 12 printers.
Right.
It's crazy. How long did this project take you?
Oh, well, there wasn't, as usual, when you work with agencies, they go, oh, we need it in 4 weeks. Oh, it's like, something like that. So it wasn't long. It was like, I'd say it was 6 weeks, I think, maybe. It was kind of, the time was really short.
Yeah. Is there a way that we can read all of the notes, or?
No, I saved all the data. I've probably got it somewhere, but I gave it to Airbnb. So, hopefully they, maybe they would make something with it. I don't think they ever did, but, Airbnb were really pleased with it. So
we'll all sign a petition to make sure that they do.
Right, okay.
We're all behind you. Okay, so there's this other project, and oh my gosh, you've worked on so many projects and so many amazing ones as well. And it was for the winter limited edition of Field Notes.
Oh yeah, I'm really proud of this one.
Yeah, you created 99,999 unique snowflake illustrations using a generative process to create the same amount of unique covers.
Yeah. This is the word. So this went live last Wednesday. This has just been launched. And the reaction to this has been, amazing. So I'll give you the background. Jim Coodle and Aaron Draplin came up with the idea of Field Notes many, many years ago. And Jim Coodle was an a design. He had a design place in Chicago many years ago, and he was always doing projects. And And then he got together with Draplin, was a friend of his, Aaron Draplin, and they thought, and Draplin was doing these books that he would give out to people for free, and then they thought, maybe there's an idea in this. So I've known Jim for 20 years. I met him, I was speaking in Chicago at a design conference, and I'd had a few dealings with him online, and he said, do you want to meet up for a drink? And we just became instantly, great friends. So I've had it on my secret. I don't have a bucket list, but I've always thought I'd love to do a Field Notes cover, because they do these limited editions, every 3 months. And I've never said to Jim I would love to do a cover, because I thought it was a bit crass, to go, Jim, can I do a cover? So he just messaged me a few months ago and said, Brendan, I've got this mad idea. He said, do you reckon you could make 99,999 unique snowflakes? Because we've got the printers that they use. The company now has this amazing digital printer where they can do a different cover for every one, right? So they're done in 3 packs. That's why there's 99,999. So I said, like an idiot, yes. so then I had to figure out how you do it, and a lot of this, the snowflake generation is not that hard, but it's then how do you do 99,999 that are unique, and that's where the logistics came in. And I use this thing called Houdini, where most of my work is done these days, and there's a system in there. It's getting a bit geeky, but it's called the Procedural Dependency Graph, where you can chain things together, chain mathematics together, and that's what I use to make this. But then the logistics of it, I couldn't render in it. So a lot of my work that you've seen, the render is, it's a proper 3D render with lighting and all that kind of stuff, right? So it can take hours to render one frame, for instance. Well, work that out. If you're taking hours to do one of these images, you're talking, it would take a year, right? So I thought, well, I can't render them traditionally. So instead I thought, what if we did a 2D composition, which you can do in Houdini as well? So it takes the 3D geometry and makes a 2D composition that's flat, like line art. And that it does in 20 seconds. So that was my approach on how to do it, and then to make it more organic and to create this Voronoi tessellation across it. It makes it more interesting. So you can read more about how I did it on the Field Notes website. But I am so proud of this project, and I have to say the reaction has been really lovely.
And that's amazing. It's beautiful. And my next question to you is, where do we buy all these notebooks? Because I need to get my hands on one right now.
Yeah, so if you go, fieldnotesbrand.com, and just go on there, and it's the first one you'll see, because it just came out last week. And you can either buy just one of the packs, or you can subscribe for a year-long subscription. So you get this one, it would start with this one, and then you would get 3 more throughout the year, different editions of, who knows who makes those, but they've done a letterpress one and really amazing stuff. So this is the first ever one that's generative, made with code. So you can just buy this one pack, or, and they ship worldwide. Sometimes the shipping is a bit expensive, but yeah, please do have a look at it. I think we'll make great presents for the upcoming holiday season.
I think so too. I think this is like a Christmas gift. This can be a Christmas gift to myself, actually. I'm definitely getting one after this interview. I just think it's fascinating, especially you just said, yes. You didn't even ask questions. You just said, yes, I'm going to do it. And I'll figure it out.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I think, you say yes and then figure it out afterwards. There's always a way to do something. You immediately say yes, and then you start to worry. But
is that advice?
Sorry?
Is that an advice?
Yeah, absolutely advice. always say yes.
It's a yes man, basically.
I see Whale Shark has already bought 5 3
Yeah.
packs.
It's
Thank you.
insane. Ahead of me. No. But okay. So I kind of have this, this final question that I kind of want to ask you.
Mhm.
Is there any, do you collect NFT art or anything like that? And if you do, what is a piece that, your favorite NFT piece, your single most favorite NFT art, or a piece that you would like to acquire?
Yeah, you know what? I've not got into the collecting side yet. I've got to be honest. I've been concentrating on just trying to create my work, just focus on that. I'm not saying I won't do that, and I have been gifted some lovely pieces. There's you should definitely check out. I'm not sure how to say his name, but Onyo on Unknown Origins doing amazing work. Signal Noise, Jam Factory, are all friends of mine. They're doing a really lovely, wonderful work. You should definitely check out their work. Beeple, G Monk has just come into the scene. Amazing motion graphics guy. So I could go on. There's lots more, but what's interesting for me is to see a lot of my friends who I've spoken at design conferences with. They're starting to now get into that scene and have an amazing reaction. So that's really lovely to see.
Amazing. And I'm definitely going to check out all of those artists later. And yeah, it's amazing. And again, thank you so much for coming on to our show, Brendan. It's been an absolute pleasure just picking your mind and you spilling the knowledge to the community. I'm sure Whale Shark had a lot of fun as well during this interview. And so, yeah, we would love to have you on again. And I can't wait to see what the future holds for you and your work.
Well, listen, can I just say, it's really humbling, and it's honored to be on here. The reaction to my work and the reception from the whale community has been amazing. Whale Shark and everyone involved. The crazy thing is, I had no idea this existed before June. I didn't know this world existed, right? So this is kind of blowing my mind, and from my point of view, I'm just going to try and keep trying to make the best work that I can and put it out there. I'm not in any hurry. I'm not, I have an approach that I try and put the best I can into my work. So I continue to put that out there, and hopefully people will still like it. And yeah, just a huge thank you to the whale community for being so supportive. It really is appreciated.
Of course, and it was an absolute pleasure. So thank you all to the 120 people listening.
Wow.
And now, yeah, I think it's a record breaking actually for our you broke another record. So there we go, 120 people listening. Thank you so much for everyone tuning in. I hope you guys all learned something and enjoyed it just as much as I did. And again, thank you so much, Brendan. And I'll see you guys next week. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.